Cody's already starting up with the football talk.
Here's what I'll say. If the Niners, I honestly think it's kind of silly to trade up almost always. But if the Niners don't draft Fields with that, I'm going to be pretty upset. It's like, why even bother? To be honest.
Yeah. I agree with you, even though I know nothing about football.
Well, that's what you get. You get a bunch of people who are amazing football players, and then you put them into front offices, and like, I guess there's some exceptions or whatever, but it's weird. There's a lot of stuff that just perpetuates in football. People just do stuff for the sake of precedence. We've always done it this way. Well, how about try winning? You haven't done that much lately. So you know,
all right.
This is an amazing quarterback class, but I'm not a fan of trading up. And Cody, you know I'm not.
What?
Let's do this.
He knows I'm not a fan of trading up because you know he listens to the exact same podcast that I do. So yeah, we both listen to the same people telling us what to think. Hi, Jeff McKinney, and hi, Laura and Brad and Rhett, and hello, all the lurkers. I got to work on like which way I point when the
Here you.
I gotta lean out. I gotta move my stool over. That's what I gotta do. Okay.
There, I'll just cover you both up. There you go. Okay. So yeah, Mark, here's the show. You're welcome. All right. So we are JVB just joined us too. Oh, it's going to be a raucous crowd.
Hey,
JVB. I can already tell. All right, folks, we're drinking rum tonight. We're super excited about it. We're going to get the show started here anytime now. Mark, do you have any other questions before we get going?
Nope. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, this is what we're expecting out of the peanut gallery. All right. All right. Well, let's do it then. Let's just get.
Did you send JVB your leftover Sarah Jessica Parker wine?
We drank it all.
All right. Can I start now, John?
Sure.
Let's see if I can hit all the right buttons tonight. All right, Mark, good luck. Thanks for joining us. We'll get here.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
At the sound of the tone, the official "We Like Drinking" time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 327 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing all the news that's fit for booze. We're playing your favorite drinking game, and we're putting some rummy rum in our tummy tum. Mark Breene from Copalli Rum. Uncork that wine, and let's get drinking. This many episodes, and I forget the cardinal rule of read what Solomon writes before I have to read it on air.
I could tell when your brain hit the rummy rum part. That was awesome.
Well done, folks. And let me say cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 327 of your favorite award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on fun. We like to have it. So make sure you never miss another episode of our brand of drinking fun by visiting welikedrinking.com/subscribe. Yeah, please do it. So we have a lot to get through tonight and a lot to drink. So we're going to get right into this and find out who we're joined by. And we'll talk about what we're drinking in just a minute. We have our usual panel members. We have our California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador and recovering wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Hey, shalom, everyone.
Our commercial brewing snake wrangler, John Riak.
Hey.
And I am your host and certified specialist of wine, Jeff Eccles. Now, our guest this week is the CEO of Copalli Rum, the award-winning, organic, single estate rum made in the heart of the southern Belize rainforest. He has spent more than 2 decades working with global and artisanal brands, as well as working on brands that focus on sustainable agriculture. Please help us welcome Mark Breene. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeff. Great to be here. Excited
To have you on the show. This is a super cool project that I am really interested to dive into. So you can find Copalli Rum on their website at copallirum.com and on Instagram at Copalli Rum. Easy enough to get to. Was I talking fast? Everybody's yelling at me for talking too fast. I got to get to the drinky drinks, guys.
He's so excited.
He's
like Jesse Spano on caffeine pills.
So Mark, how about you talk to us about what 2 rums we're drinking through tonight?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you for that introduction. Let me tell you a little bit about the history of Copalli, because that leads into the story about the brand. So this brand was started several years ago by a guy called Todd Robinson and Anya Fernald. And Todd was a financier who sold his business, and like all good successful entrepreneurs, basically went fishing. And he went fishing down to southern Belize, where he was bone fishing, and he was realizing that the waters weren't quite as clean and pristine as they had been, and started asking questions about why, and suddenly realized that it was a lot to do with the rainforest in southern Belize, and it was being basically destroyed. There were squatters there, it was being industrialized, and so he began a sort of crusade to restore the rainforest, and he ended up buying 22,000 acres of rainforest, with originally the intent, let's just sort of let it regenerate. But as he got more into the whole idea of regenerating this area, he realized that it's not just about the rainforest, it's about the people that live there. And you've basically you've got to provide some income to people. You can't just provide the environment. So what he ended up doing was building three businesses in Belize, which are all designed to basically give employment to the local population. So he's built an eco-tourist lodge there. He's built a chocolate factory, basically, and he's built a rum distillery. But all 3 businesses have been built very much with sort of green principles in mind. And so if we take the distillery, which will lead us into the rum, the distillery has been built right from the start to ensure that it had no carbon footprint. So, most distilleries, most of them were built a long time ago before anyone ever even worried about things like, carbon footprint. But this was designed in sort of 2016, and it was very clearly designed to have no carbon footprint. So, one of the things that we do, for example, is the whole distillery is powered by biomass. That's what that drives the whole distillery. The sugarcane, and we'll talk a bit about all that, but all the sugarcane is organic. It's all grown within 2 miles of the distillery. And so it's very much a reflection of the local environment. The types of sugarcane that we chose to use are very much local variants of the sugarcane. So it really is all about sort of showcasing the local terroir of southern Belize. So that's sort of hopefully a bit of introductions to how Copalli ended, how it came about. I've got 2 rums which we're going to taste tonight. We've got our white rum. I suggest we start with our white rum, and let's taste that. We can talk a little bit about how it's made. But like all good rums, I'll make sure you've got some in your glass, because this story goes on for a little bit. But
I better pour some more then.
You pour some more.
I'm loving it already.
Good. Well, like all good spirits, it doesn't. Where it's the start of the production isn't really in the distillery; it's in the field. And our master distiller, Ed Tiddage, has selected what he believes as the best variety of sugarcane for making our style of rum. This is made from a species of sugarcane called the noble cane. And it was selected not like most people would select it because it's the most productive or it's the most disease resistant. It was selected purely on taste. This is a very, if you ever see these noble canes, they're quite a fat sugar cane. They're quite delicate though, but they give off, there's a high sugar content in the sugar cane. So this is what you're drinking now. Hopefully you have in your glass anyway, is our white sugar cane. We use both pot stills and a column still. And what you get here is 25% of the distillate is from the pot still. That's what gives it quite a strong flavor. And the 75% comes from the column still. Now, the style of rum, again, that we're using here is a rum agricole style. Let me explain what all that means. So, something like 25 million cases of rum sold in the US every year. 95% of that rum is made from molasses. Molasses is a byproduct of the sugar industry. I think everyone understands that. But that's not what we use to make this rum. We just take the sugar cane, which we say it's grown within 2 miles of the distillery. It's chopped down. Within 2 hours, we have crushed that sugar cane to get the juice out of it. And we just use that juice, basically. So it's the sugar cane juice, it's the yeast, and it's the canopy water from the rainforest. That's it. There is nothing else in this. So you are tasting that sugar cane, very much that sort of raw sugar cane taste. And
it
hopefully
has such a unique aroma to it for a rum.
So can I ask a question? My wine, beer, and pop culture reference term a couple of weeks ago was cachaça.
Yeah.
Which is Brazilian spirit made from sugarcane juice, as opposed to molasses like rum, other rums are. So how would you describe the difference between your product and the national spirit of Brazil?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of similarities. So they will use things like they use the fresh pressed sugar cane as well. Bizarrely, the way in which we classify cachaça, I mean, in Brazil, you have to call it cachaça. You can't call it rum. In the US, you can call it's only called rum. The differences are subtle. But you wouldn't get the combination of pot still and column still, which we use today. But I think it's an interesting comparison. The other one I like to say is, rum. You can taste rums on a huge spectrum, and many of the rums, I would argue, taste closer to a vodka. Sometimes some of the white rums out there, they don't taste so much. I think this is at the other end of the spectrum. I compare it more to something like a white tequila in many ways, because hopefully what you're getting out of this is a sort of a grassy, herbal, vegetal aroma from it.
I was actually thinking about the Ticoleño we get with tequila we got from El Ticoleño a while back, and it was reminiscent of their Blanco product.
I was actually surprised, as opposed to like the white rums that I think a lot of folks are just used to getting, where it's like it's usually a mixer in something else and you're not really paying attention. The caramel type notes are there, but then as soon as you start talking about the grassiness, I start all of a sudden being transported into like, anyone who ever goes to like a really nice olive oil tasting, like you get some of those grassy notes in that olive oil, and it's almost like in that type of direction. And on a light rum, I think it's really unexpected. You know what I mean? Which I love.
I get a little coconut on the nose.
I do too.
Mine.
I've got a bit of citrus as well, touching on the nose.
That's great. Yeah, because I mean, we're probably not used to sipping the best rum in the world for the most part.
I've never sipped rum before in my life.
Yeah. This is a first. I still put it in a shot glass for posterity, but
So hopefully on the taste, again, I get more of the citrus zest than I do the sort of the lime. But what comes through for me anyway is more sort of darker fruits there. Certainly some strawberry.
I get a lot of the grassy notes that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Like I get some good earthy kind of notes there.
Yeah, and that's must be from the pot still, because that's, the way it concentrates the aromas before it goes up the distilling part of the pot still. Just and that's very similar to beer in that the kettle in a brewing system.
Yep.
You have steam escaping, but you want to create, keep most of the heavier aromas from the hops inside the kettle, and those can stay in while the steam escapes.
Yeah.
So I would imagine it's a similar type of situation.
Yeah. In Belize, we do a version of this that we sell, which is 100% pot still white rum, which actually just won a double gold at the San Francisco Awards. But nice. I think it's even more powerful when you've just got the pot still white rum there, and probably a bit overwhelming for some people if you're expecting one of those white rums closer to a vodka. This isn't going to deliver. It's going to be a surprise.
Yeah, there's this beautiful citrus, nice acid on this, peppery notes.
Yeah,
for
a lot of
days,
notes,
and this is wonderful, right? I won't say it's the first time I've ever slow tasted rum, because I did go to the Bacardi factory in Puerto Rico one time, but I was hammered the entire time.
Good. So should we move on and talk about?
Yeah, if this is the white, I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, I already did it. I jumped ahead.
You went ahead, did you? So what we've got with our rested Copalli, similar process. It's the rum agricole style, but instead of mixing the column still and the pot still, this is 100% pot still rum. We double distill it, and then it spends basically a year in oak barrels.
Do you know what the oak barrels are?
Yeah, we've landed on Jack Daniel's barrels.
Okay.
Again, our master distiller will argue, because of the process of making Jack Daniel's, where they charcoal filter it leads to a more mellow whiskey, and we think that reflects well on our rum.
Okay.
So we experimented with several different bourbon casks, but ended up with Jack Daniel's ones in the end.
Nice. And on the nose for me, just totally smoothed out.
Right.
And not to say that the white was overpowering, but it's definitely a more subtle aromatic experience for me on this.
Yeah, I mean, on the aroma, I've got some vanilla, some leather, the typical oak that you would get from, any product that's been in the barrel as well. But then when they start tasting it, this is where I get some more of the spices, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, probably darker fruits for me, more sort of blackberries and things, cherries, and a hint of tobacco, I think, in there.
This is no doubt, I think that, folks that maybe fancy themselves I only drink bourbon, I only drink, single malt scotch or anything like that. I think folks do need to incorporate some really good dark rum into their lifestyle, because just getting into this, and I don't know what the common person's experience is with rum, but I think a lot of folks they just go back to party boats and senior frogs. It's almost like a similar like bad rap that bad tequila can give tequila. But my goodness, is this Eccles is gonna like this. It's smooth.
Hashtag smooth.
It's like, it really is. Like, I feel like I need to put on like a
Smoking jacket.
Yeah, a nice little like smoking jacket. You know, all the crushed like purples and furs.
Still the towel.
But this is, and the beautiful viscosity on this, like this is a chewy thing. Anybody who like orders this as a shot and just slams it back, like what's your problem? Like this is, you don't like good experiences, you don't like good flavor. Like this is really fun.
Yeah, I think you make a great point, Jeff, which is, I think there are a lot of discerning drinkers out there that, as you say, will talk about whiskey or cognac or whatever. And that's great. There's some amazing liquids there too. But I think we're just trying to broaden people's perspectives a bit. That says, actually, you can get some amazing tasting rums out there. And, most people's experiences, you're right. It's usually somewhere in their early drinking repertoire was they went through rum and they kind of moved through it pretty quickly and onto other things. But I think we're trying to get people to change their views a little bit. It says, wait a minute, rum can be just as discerning as a whiskey. You've just got to find the right rums to help you on that journey and bring you back in.
When I was working in Costa Rica, I drank my fair share of Flor de Caña 7-year. And, but this is, and that was sneaker rum. Boy, you drank it and you were fine. And then 10 minutes later, remember what your name was. But I remember tasting that on its own and having that aged feel to it. But not like this. This is
I get such a cool cinnamon nose and flavor on this.
And there's a sweetness in with the cinnamon, in with the vanilla kind of thing. It's really and just like the white, the viscosity is just really nice, and it allows you to taste a lot of different things all at once, which a good viscous spirit does.
Yeah, I mean, we often get the question, well, when you're going to produce an older one, and this is only rested for a year. What about doing an older one? And we may do in time, but one of the things that we're keen to do is showcase the sugarcane. All right. And, if we put it in the barrel for too much longer, it's going to be still great. But over time, the barrel will take over the sugarcane. And we don't really want that to happen, because that's what we're really all about, is showcasing, the terroir and the sugarcane.
And of course, if we're going to have rum, we do have to have some mixed cocktails. So
absolutely.
I have made myself a little daiquiri here. John, what do you have going on?
I made a dark and stormy.
Nice.
Great, John. Which ginger ale did you use? Ginger beer.
Brooklyn Crafted.
Interesting.
Extra spicy. They had some reeds, but I didn't really want to buy a 4-pack, so.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Help me out. What goes in a dark and stormy?
2 ounces of the dark rum, 3 ounces of the ginger beer, and a good squeeze of a half of a lime.
What if you didn't have any ginger beer available, but you had some Synergy Ginger Aid raw kombucha? I have, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
It's kombucha. I've got the dark and hippie and the light and dippy. So I am excited.
I gotta say, so I've got this daiquiri, I've got this lime juice, I've got this simple syrup, and I've got the rum. And I'm amazed how much of the rum comes through and just adds to this drink. So typically you just get the sour and the sweet, but this has a whole nother component that just gives us so much depth. Like, it makes a daiquiri just next level. That's
Yeah, I know. We
that's
think
awesome.
it helps bring it alive. And you're absolutely right. Part of the reason that we sort of, if you'd ask us to recommend a cocktail with the white, we'd say a daiquiri for exactly that reason. The rum comes shining through, which, if you're going to put a good rum in, you want to make sure you can taste it in whatever cocktail you're making. So I think you made a great point.
And this certainly holds up against some really spicy ginger beer. I mean, I actually taste the rum before the ginger beer.
Good.
I was going to say the same thing. Ginger is such a powerful flavor.
Yeah.
But having, the spiciness of the Blanco, having just that smoothed out richness of the rested rum, this is working wonders. Only problem with the kombucha is all the caffeine.
Well, the problem with the kombucha is all the floaty shit in it.
Yeah, but look, you keep the chunder on the bottom. It's all good. Keep the chunder down under.
All right. So that's everything we have in our glass, and probably took up half our questions for tonight, which is good because now we got to get into wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture references. This was I'm going to give these guys a term, and they're going to try to tell me if it's a wine term, a beer term, a spirit term, or some kind of pop culture reference. The term this week is seekin'. So is seekin' a wine term, a beer term,
a beer term?
I just saw.
How much rum have you had?
I just saw JBB's comment as I was trying to get through that. A wine term, a beer term, a spirit term, or some kind of pop culture reference. Jeff Solomon.
Yeah. Hey, how do you spell seekin'?
Sekin.
Seekin'. There's a part of me that just hoped it was Seekin apostrophe, and I'm like, I don't know, probably some deep track from Creedence Clearwater Revival. I'm seeking a romance, like something silly like that. But seekin, Sekin, seekin. There you go. And you can never trust Eccles on the mispronunciation. So this is actually a beer term, and it is a Japanese craft beer. It's pronounced kekin. It's a well-respected Japanese craft beer. They would not do the frozen head over the top like Kirin Ichiban did a long time ago. This is just straight up. It's a delicious lager. It's a lager, and while the head is not frozen, it's served hella cold, and the head takes up about 2/3 of the glass when they serve it. So, Seekin, it's a Japanese beer.
All right, Jeff Solomon.
I mean, Keiken.
All Japanese lagers taste the same?
I'm sure they do.
We'll
find out. We might find out next week.
The frozen Kirin Ichiban had a little difference.
John Ruyak, Seekin.
Cekin?
Yes.
God, it sounds like a Slovakian hockey player. Is he tearing it up for the Avalanche or something like that? He's like fourth wing and got 9 goals in a shortened season.
Could be.
Alexei Seekin. That's exactly.
Yeah, Alexei Seekin.
Darn it.
He can stick handle in a phone booth. Just the spelling says Eastern Europe to me. So, not being a hotbed of wine, although there are some very good ones.
Some very good ones.
I'm going to go with this as a beer term.
All right, we got 2 beer terms, one from Japan and one from, where'd you say, Slovakia or something?
Yeah,
like that?
Slovakia.
Okay, all right. Mark Breene, any clue on what Seekin might be?
I'm going to hope it's nothing to do with spirits because it doesn't ring a bell with me, which probably means it's exactly what it is. But it sounds like some bizarre thing you'd use to filter wine or something. Oh, yes, we added the Seek in one day and it was marvelous. I'm guessing it's nothing to do with that because the U2 wine guys would know. So maybe it's a pop culture reference.
Some kind of pop culture reference. Jeff and John were in on a little bit of inside baseball that I completely forgot I had this term until 5 minutes before the show. So I had to do like a mad search to try to come up with what the term was tonight. So we got 2 for beer, and Mark is going with a pop culture reference. The term Seekin is, in fact, a beer term. Well, Judd panel members, it is a hop. First commercially released as a super styrian hop around 1990. Seekin.
I'm seeking a new Volkswagen bus. I'm going to the show with all my friends. I've got a Styrian hop. I'm calling it Seeking, naming it after a fake CCR song.
Seek and destroy. Okay. And Mark is like, how do I get out of
this?
All right.
Don't make me sing. Don't make me sing.
I think we're ready to get into the interview portion. You gave us a huge overview of everything that you're doing down at Copalli, but I had a couple questions from the Peanut Gallery. JVB wanted to know what exactly is biomass. Where was that question?
Yeah, great question. So, if you remember, I told you we take the sugar cane and we basically squeeze it through a sort of an old wringer that you sort of recognize from drying clothes almost. It's that kind of process. But you squeeze all the sugar cane out of all the sugar juice out of the sugar cane, and then you dry the leftover fiber that you've got. It's actually called bagasse, and once you dry it, that is the biomass.
That could be
a term that you use in next week's show. What is bagasse? But bagasse is the biomass, which when we dry it out, that's what basically we use to heat the stills. And
so are you creating biodiesel from that, or?
No. All you do is you basically burn that at very, very high temperatures, and that's what heats the still. And then the byproduct from all the distill is called vinasse, and that's actually something that we then put in. We capture those in ponds outside the distillery, aerate them, wait till the pH is reached a sort of normal level, and then we use that as fertilizer and put it all back onto the land, along with the ash that has come from the bio waste. So it's why we have a regenerative process. Nothing gets put into the local streams or rivers or anything. Everything is reprocessed and used back in the land.
And do you what yeast do you use? An outside yeast? Do you native yeast? What do you use for your yeast?
Yeah, we've experimented with different yeasts, and we're using distiller's yeast right now, just because it's predictable, there is so much natural yeast in the sugarcane anyway. We want to try and bring some sort of conformity to the whole thing, whereas when we were using wild yeasts, it was just a little hard to control.
Yep. And Cody says, Mark, you have a great voice. Ever thought about reading for audiobooks?
No, never. Know your own strengths and weaknesses, I think.
Chelsea says hi. Chelsea says hi as well, everybody.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
And JVB wants to know if you said big ass.
Bagasse. Just to confirm.
Bagasse. Okay.
So,
Change that.
Mark, looking through your history, you've worked for some big and extremely well-known global brands. You've worked in the champagne, you've worked in global rum, you've worked in the spirits industry. What was it about Copalli that made you to want to become CEO for this little distillery in Belize?
Yeah, great question. So, all right, you're right. I've been lucky enough to work for some of the biggest companies in the drinks industry. I spent many years at Diageo, and then I joined a company called Remy Cointreau, a well-known French drinks company. And it's while I was there that Remy Cointreau actually purchased a small craft whiskey distillery in Seattle called Westland Distillery. And when they purchased it, they put me in as the CEO to run that business. And Westland is an extraordinary business, and they just make American single malt whiskey, but very much focused on the same principles that we have at Copalli, which is, it's all about local ingredients. It's all about showcasing the local terroir. And it's all about, working with local farmers to figure out which are the varieties of, in the case of whiskey, barley, that grow incredibly well in the Pacific Northwest, and using those to sort of make the whiskey. And it's exactly the same principles at Copalli. I've sort of been pleasantly surprised by just how the same philosophy is driving both distilleries, and has sort of informed the decisions that have been made in both businesses about, what products are we going to make, and what principles are we going to employ to decide, where we get our ingredients, and who we work with and who we don't work with.
So I guess I have a chicken and an egg question regarding, you talked about, the barleys for the craft whiskey places and the noble cane that you're using for your rum. Are you growing it on your own land, or are you working with farmers in the local area to do that?
So we have our own farmland that we're using. So it was apparently an orange orchard or something, and so that was not native. So they cleared that out, and they've used that land for growing the sugar cane. So to answer your question, it's all part of the same estate.
Okay, it's just as interesting. We had talked to someone from some bourbon places, and they contract directly with farmers that grow a specific hybrid of corn. So I'm wondering if that was the kind of thing where you were contracting with a farmer that grows that particular type of cane. But obviously, no, that is not.
No, and part of the reason that we haven't to date, and it's not to say we wouldn't ever, but we were the first certified organic farm in Belize growing sugarcane. So that there just wasn't another one out there that we could go and purchase from. So, it was one of those, as we decided we wanted to build this distillery and it wanted to be using all organic products, there was nowhere that we could get it from. So we literally had to start our own organic farm.
So I guess just one other follow-up question, and I'll give the floor to somebody else. So do you see in the future maybe increasing production and going outside that and encouraging other farmers to farm organically to help sustainably farm, that kind of thing, and kind of spreading that philosophy wider outside of the
there will come a point, hopefully, if we're successful with the business, where it's going to get bigger than we can deal with with our own farm, and then hopefully by then, we've worked with local farmers nearby to say, it's in your interest to start planting organic sugarcane, and this is the varieties that we want you to grow, and start working with those guys, because go back to the motivation behind setting up this business. It was all about bringing economic benefit to the area of southern Belize. And today, the Copalli businesses, and by that I'm talking about the lodge and the chocolate factory and the distillery, they employ over 100 people. We're the biggest employer in southern Belize.
That's
so,
awesome.
We've succeeded in that goal, certainly.
Wow. That's so cool, Mark. I'm seeing people in the chat asking some wonderful questions about the product, and I'll relay some of those in a moment. But I'm just so interested, as you mentioned, having worked for some bigger brands, some different brands, some brands that kind of fit your sensibilities in terms of the drinks business. I want to go on the way back machine. How does Mark Breene find himself in the drinks business to begin with? What's the story?
Good question. So as you can probably tell from the accent, so I'm not from this part of the world.
Oh,
okay?
I know, Canada.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So I'm from the UK, and I went to school in a place called Tadcaster. And John, maybe you've heard of Tadcaster. Tadcaster in the UK is probably one of the most famous brewing towns in the north of England. And where our school was, we had 3 pretty sizable distilleries surrounding the school. So depending which way the wind was blowing, it was either John Smith's or Bass or Sam Smith's. You got to kind of know what these beers smelt like, not because we were underage drinking or anything, don't misunderstand me, but just, we were surrounded by breweries. And, pretty much, I'd say half the kids in the school, one of their parents worked at one of the breweries, and every school lesson was somehow tied to that. Geography was about, well, what makes the water so perfect for brewing, and biology was what's the process of brewing, and the teachers were smart enough to make it relevant, and when you're surrounded by that industry, that's how you make it relevant. So, right from an early age, I'd been intrigued by that, by the alcohol business, and then when I left college, I was lucky enough to get a traineeship with a company which is sort of doesn't exist anymore. It's called IDV, International Distillers and Vintners. And, all the advice you get as a sort of young man coming out of college, go for these companies that offer a good training scheme. And many of the drinks companies which have sort of all merged now, but many of them were actually based in the UK. There was United Distillers, there was International Distillers and Vintners, there was Allied Domecq. There were a whole number of them, all based in the UK. And so as you sort of looked at the business, you thought, I could make a career of this. So anyway, I did it for a couple of years and kind of enjoyed it, and then I stepped away and went into the food business, joined Unilever for a couple of years. And whilst I learnt a huge amount there, a great company, I actually really missed the fact that, drink is just something that everyone relates to. And I was always in the marketing side of the business. And I remember when we did research groups at Unilever, and we were basically selling kids' food to parents, and you'd get a whole bunch of mums in these research groups, and you say, okay, what are you going to feed your kid next week for dinner, and they talk about it for 2 or 3 minutes, but then the conversation would wander off onto something else, and a good researcher would bring it back and go, well, what are you going to feed them the next night, and how are you going to decide, and it was sort of hard to get them to talk about it for very long. And then I was remembering back to the research groups on drinks, and it was always like, oh, Jeff, could you shut up for a minute? I've got to talk to John. John, and John would sort of talk for another half an hour about, I love this and I drink that, and when I'm here, I love that, and then I go to this guy's house, he makes me this cocktail, and it's just a product. Alcoholic drinks, just things that so many people can relate to, and they've all got happy memories associated with them, and that. So I mean, it's just a product that I just find fascinating, and it's an industry which I think we can all attest to is changing quite dramatically all of the time. And if I look at some of the big spirit brands that are out there today, the Tito's, the Patrons, and things like that, a lot of these brands didn't exist when 10 or 15 years ago, but they've come in and they've changed and they've sold millions of cases to millions and millions of consumers. And, it's fascinating being in an industry where you can watch that kind of change going on and the different sort of consumer trends coming and going. And that's what's sort of kept me so fascinated is it's an industry where you can see the impact of what you do very quickly. And, it also attracts a lot of good people. I really like almost everybody I meet in this industry.
Yeah, for sure.
That is so cool. And Mark, as you're telling that story, I just reflexively go back to, in the United States, I feel like still, and maybe it's as this relic of like prohibition that's kind of stuck around, like responsible drinking culture and like talking to children about alcohol, like not feeding them alcohol, but like talking about stuff like that. It's so weird. And I feel like I grew up in a pretty like chillaxed household, but like I must have been maybe a year out of college before one day I said like, oh, wait a second. Some people go to college to work at breweries and wineries and stuff like that. I think that's so cool. And thank you so much for sharing that. A question that came up in the chat from our buddy Rhett on the technical side. Is there a particular harvest season for sugarcane in Belize, or is it like multiple times a year?
So there is, and so we generally start the harvest in late February, early March, and basically it goes through as long as until the rains hit, which is usually July, August. We hand harvest our product, so it can be quite a kind of drawn out process. We're probably harvesting a couple of acres a day at the farm. It takes time. We've a crew of something like 30 people who work in the distillery year round, but during harvest time, they're out there in the fields hand harvesting all the sugar cane.
Okay, so this Eccles warned you about this in the pre-show. So I'm going to talk about snakes. So when you no, just wait a second. When you harvest the cane, does it go on a big ass truck with big tall sides that hauls it down the road to the distillery?
It goes on a back of a tractor trailer. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So for people, nobody knows about this, but there's like false snakes on the road all the time. You're driving down the road, you see a stick, and you do a U-turn and you go back and it's a stick. It's not a snake. It's called road cruising. But when you're in Costa Rica and you're driving around the roads and around the cane fields during harvest season, those things are all over the road, and you think there's some big ass snakes down there in the tropics, and you're turning around and you're driving back and you're like, it's a goddamn sugar cane. I did that hundreds of times in Costa Rica, turning the car around because I thought it was a snake and it was just freaking sugar cane.
Did you ever get to see a snake?
Oh yeah, several, and I actually got bit by one down there. But it was not a fun experience. But that's another question: is there? I mean, sugarcane fields sometimes have problems with rodents, and which attracts, in particular, venomous species like Turkey-Apellos or Cantils. Do you have any problems with snake bite during the harvest season in the cane fields?
I'll be absolutely honest, John. I've never heard of any,
but
I am going to go and ask that question because
I
don't want to say never because I don't know that for a fact.
Mark, I think you actually indirectly answered that earlier. John said there's big ass snakes there. Well, those are used to power the distillation process.
And Lori wants to know if you said Unilever.
I did.
And that is where her and her husband worked and met. Ask him if he was in Englewood Cliffs.
No, never in Inglewood Cliffs. No.
There you go, Laurie. Okay.
I was in Walton-on-Thames in Surrey.
There you go.
That sounds so much more romantic than Inglewood Cliffs.
Yeah.
All right, Mark.
Regardless of whether Lori and her husband met
If
there.
he'd have went to Inglewood Cliffs, he would have been making some award-winning Cabernet Franc.
So, Mark, and again, folks, we're talking to Mark Breene from Copalli Rum, as CEO with a marketing background. Like, there's got to be something in you that wants to know where you're going to focus the Copalli campaign. Is it the rum? Is it the location? Is it the positive local impact? Is it the sustainability? Like, there's so much to choose from. Where is your marketing brain going?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, like many environmentally friendly products out there, I think people want those as reasons to believe, but it's never the main reason that you're going to be purchasing this. And, I would like people to sort of learn about this brand and say, wow, that's a brand I'd be proud to drink of because its values are similar to my values or values that I would be proud of. And that's what I think is hopefully going to drive people to this brand. But, some people are going to be interested because it's organic. Some people are going to be interested because we have a zero carbon footprint. Some people are going to like it because we've only got 3 ingredients that go into it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of reasons to believe. But I think, we're in an industry where, people make a lot of emotional decisions, and it's that emotional connection that I'm looking to try and drive on this brand, as I'm sure, John, you are with your beer and anybody is with their wine. Anything that we do, someone else could copy. But if there's that emotional connection there, then that is going to be way more powerful than any fact or figure that I can throw out around our production.
The story is always what sells, and you guys have a great story. Jeff is pointing at Mark.
I was just thinking, Mark, and this was totally on accident.
Here we go.
I still don't know which direction the cameras are. You talked about how anything you could do, somebody could copy. And I was just thinking about, what you can't copy? A non-fungible token. It's not fungible. So, coming from the marketing standpoint, are we going to see, what are we going to see first? A Copalli Rum NFT? There's a couple here. Copalli Rum NFT, Copalli Rum flavored vape juice for children, or the first organic single estate Belizean rum company that only accepts Bitcoin or Ethereum. What happens first?
None of the above, Jeff, I'm afraid. Sorry to disappoint.
I was really hoping he would go with the vape juice one. That was...
I think it was the for children part that kind of put the slammo on that.
All right. I have one more question here. It's almost May. There's a chance of snow in my weather forecast. So can you please tell us a bit about the Copal Tree Lodge and how Copalli Rum is a part of it? I just need to hear about that warmth.
Yeah, so the lodge was actually the first business that Todd built down in Belize, and it's got, I think, 19 rooms there. It's all 5-star locations. We've got a Michelin chef down there, so it's the kind of place you want to come and just chill and kick back, because you can go out and explore the rainforest. There are miles and miles of pathways that you can go out, and you can see the most extraordinary array of birds, wild animals. There are
snakes.
There are leopards there, if you're lucky. I'm sure there are snakes, but back to my other point, I've never seen any, never heard of any. Yeah, just beware. Yeah, we'll see. But no, I mean, it's just a wonderful place to kind of get away from it all. So, Jeff, I think you should make yourself a reservation down there.
Lori was asking if we were all going to Belize earlier in the chat. So I guess the answer is yes. And I saw on their travel packages, there was a rum-based package. Do you know what goes into that package and how soon we can get to it?
Well, you can come, and not only do you get tours of the distillery, but we'll take you out in the fields. We'll show you how we cut down the sugar cane, and we'll take you through the whole process from start to finish. And there's a long rum tasting at the end of it, and then you go to the bar at the lodge, and you learn how to make some fantastic rum cocktails. So, all in all, you leave as a rum aficionado.
You put us to work, basically. We're chopping down sugar cane.
Yeah.
We're dragging the sugar cane.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go. True eco tourism right there.
Apparently, we're lighting big ass snakes on fire.
Don't let John drive. You'll never make it the 2 miles to get back.
Oh yeah.
Keep turning around.
Are there cows down there? Cows.
All right. One last question, guys, if you got them. Jeff Solomon.
Let's see here. NFTs, vape juice. No, I got it. Mark, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
19 rooms. I know about 50 herpetological fanatics that would just love to go down there and look for dangerous animals in the middle of the night and then come back and drink rum during the day. I'm actually going to make the suggestion after we get off the show. I've got some people to text.
Rhett says that if you use code WLD when you purchase the rum tour, that they will that'll book you a slot in the factory to get to work. So
congratulations, you got a job.
Mark, is there anything we missed that you wanted to make sure our listeners learned about you or Copalli Rum?
No, hopefully I've tweaked some interest in the rum category, and hopefully tweaked some interest in Copalli Rum. And today we're only available in 3 states. We're in California, New York, and Florida. But if you go to places like Reserve Bar, Cascas, Cask Cartel, any of those, they can get you Copalli through to about 38 or 9 states across the US. So if you want to try it, we'd be delighted, and something like a Reserve Bar or Cascas or Cask Cartel can get you a bottle.
There you go. JVB can get it. Jeff can get it. Lori can get it. So guys, go check it out. JVB, just start sending it out to everybody. You good with that? Cool. Thanks. And is it anywhere in Canada yet?
Nope, we are not available in Canada yet. So we've only been going a couple of years. So we want to make sure we build this brand properly for the long term.
Sorry, Rhett. Okay. Let's see. All right. We Jeff Solomon. No, yeah. we're not going to have time for it tonight. All right. Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. My glass is getting kind of empty. How about you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the first one went down real quick. So
the second one, not so much.
Nursing the second. This dark and dippy is delicious.
Well, Mark, we'll get you the recipe so you can get it up on your website. What is it? The dark and dippy.
The light and one's one and the other's the other.
Light and hippie and dark and dippy.
Yeah.
The dippy. Well, if you're just
so
about
what
done,
you do, man? No.
If you're just about done with your hippie and your dippy, it must be
last call.
Last call. Time
last
to
call,
house,
man.
and lock the door. Jeff, your man bun's getting a little loose. But he's letting it out.
Oh wow.
What's happening here?
There's something about Mary. They don't know who. Oh Lord. This is bad.
That's right, folks. It's a time where you ask for your
time to let your hair down.
Follow us on the social media platform. Or John Ruyak, give the folks want to follow on social media. How can they do so?
Well, you can follow this mess on Twitter. That's We Like Drinking 1. If you're into Instagram, that's We Like Drinking, and everybody's cool place to hang out. That's the tavern. WeLikeDrinking.com/tavern. It's keeping up with the Joneses, but it's fun.
Jeff Solomon, if the folks have some thoughts on the show or your hair, where can they go to leave a review?
Yeah, so those of you watching right now live on YouTube, as you ought to do, every Tuesday night-ish around 7:30-ish Pacific, make sure that you are liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. Well, you're all yapping it up in the comments right now. Ding that bell so it's easier to catch us when we are on. But those of you that are listening to the audio only, what you need to do, scroll down, fill up those empty 5 stars all the way to the top, and you have options. You could leave a comment if you're an audio only listener about what you think my hair looks like right now. I think it's a combination between Shirley Temple and Randy Johnson. But that's just me. Or you could leave a 14-word auto corrected review of the show, like so many have, and we have so much fun with that, Jeff Eccles.
Yes, we do. Mark, if the folks want to follow Copalli Rum either on social media platforms or website, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, probably our Instagram page or Facebook page. Go to Copalli Rum. Yep.
Easy to find.
Yep.
If you've done all that and you're looking to do more, consider become a patron of the show. Visit WeLikeDrinking.com/pledge to find out how, for as little as $1 a month, you can help keep this show going. Thanks to Alex and thanks to Dan for upping their pledges to the $5 mark so they could vote in next week's beer drinking episode. It's looking like it's going to be a hot mess next week. Jeff Solomon might be really excited, though, is what I'll say. I really don't want to drink the smoothies, though. Let's not do that. You can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at WeLikeDrinking.com/episodes. Oh my goodness. What?
Sods. It's my thing. This is what I do. This is why I'm on the show. I'm like the flavor of the show. I'm just hyping you up, bro. Keep it going.
And amazingly enough, we reached the time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
Just a question. JVB, just first a question. JVB, have you listened to the cow story episode?
Oh.
Anyway, Mark, thank you very much for the rum. It's tasty as all get out, and wow! I just never thought of rum like this. I really didn't. So very cool. But just like the rum tour at Copalli, they'll put you to work and harvest tomorrow at Lizard Tail and Cantera Brewing. We'll be brewing on the big system, and we'll be doing a beer tour. And there's certainly some things I can give you to do tomorrow to help us all out. So if you want to stop by, have your work boots on.
Everybody needs to know how to sanitize things.
That's right.
And there's people asking, Copalli is Coppalli, right?
No, Copalli.
One P, Copalli. Jeff Solomon.
Can't believe you misspelled the fucking brand.
I got excited.
Jeez,
I'm looking at the dude here.
Hey man. So I just wanted to say I'm still accepting free NBA top shots. Just go ahead and give me your moments, yo. It's Jeff is rad at NBA top shots. Do what you must. Send me all your Brooke Lopez's or Robin Lopez. What are the Lopez's? Send me one of those. It'll
Mark,
be worth something.
Mark, are you big into the NFTs? Are you thinking the NFTs are the future as much as Jeff is?
Yeah, I've really got to figure out how Copalli can play a role in that.
I'm pulling my hair out over
trend.
Here.
Mark,
it's not working.
Mark, any final thoughts before we let you get out of here?
No, this has been a ton of fun. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Thank you for letting me talk about the brand. And I just want to confirm the word is bagasse. It's bagasse, because I know you're going to get all confused about what I was talking about. But the biofuel that we use is called bagasse.
That's so fantastic. Mark, thank you. This was so much fun. This was so educational. You have a fantastic product that you are in charge now. Thank you so much for sending us some. Thank you so much for sharing us the time, sharing us the story of this product. We can't wait to see how this grows. I can't wait for it to be in Colorado so I can put bigger bottles up on my shelf back behind me. So congratulations to you on the new job. Congratulations to everybody at Copalli. Just a fantastic product from top to bottom. Wonderful stuff.
Great. Thank you.
And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast,
where you'll never drink alone.
So bagasse is definitely got to be in the name.
Zoom meeting.
So are we live now, or are
We're still live, yeah. So folks, next week is a beer episode. Right now, Japanese craft beer is in the lead.
Oh God, how are we gonna find one?
I have no idea. We're all gonna be drinking
Bevmo. We're all
Sapporo
going
and
to
Kirin.
Bevmo.
I cannot name a single craft. I mean, before Seekin, I can't name a single Japanese craft beer.
And white IPA is the other one. Another one. I mean, I'm gonna buy a Belgian wit and IPA and just pour them together is what I'm gonna have to end up doing, because I can't.
I'm gonna have to go in there and up my Patreonage to make sure to override everyone.
All right. So folks, we'll see you all next week. Mark, that was awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all next week.
Mark.
Hold on a second, Mark.